Hello, my name is Kirioth, and today we are going to talk about the upcoming Space Wolves release, and this is because there's been a rumour floating around that it's going to be the 25th of August. Now, when it comes to just specific release dates for Codexes, that's not really worth making a video about, and to be honest, given the general kind of timescale for the last few Codexes to come out, you could sensibly say any time between like now and the end of the year and be correct. I would be surprised if it was the 25th of August, but only because I'm pretty sure Adeptus Titanicus is going to be previewed, like, is it the week before or the week after? Something like that. It would be a strange slot for it, but then again, it might not be a strange slot for it depending on what we actually see from the release, and that's what we're going to talk about today, because the kind of appearance of this rumour and the circulation of this rumour has led to quite a few people talking about what they want to see from the Space Wolves Codex, and I think there is an unfortunate number of people who are expecting way more out of this release than we are actually going to see, because I don't think this is going to be a big landmark Codex drop. I don't think it's going to be anything close to that. If anything, I would reserve that for either Orcs or Genestealer cults. I would hope Orcs, because they're the ones who are most in dire need of an update. The Space Wolves Codex, I've seen people saying things like, oh, now we might be able to get Primaris with close combat weapons, we might be able to get all manner of stuff. Leman Russ obviously is a wish that appears over and over again. And to be honest, I'm not really seeing it. I don't think this is going to be like a massive kind of revamp for Space Wolves. And the reasoning for this is there's a couple of things for it. Firstly, Leman Russ, I would be massively shocked if we saw him at this point. There has been very little to suggest that we will see him. There's been nothing in the way of leaked images or anything like that. Generally speaking, the past three, the only three Primarchs to have come back, we've had hints of pretty well in advance. I mean, there were leaked images for Mortarion like months and months before he came out. We're talking a seriously long time ago. They didn't really get that much attention, which was weird at the time. Then again, the image was tiny and it was like a picture of a group of thumbnails inside a folder. But they were definitely true. They were definitely accurate. We just really haven't seen anything like that for Leman Russ. And it could be that that Games Workshop are actually successfully keeping a lid on things, and they'll be doing their own leak later on to build up the hype, which is of course entirely possible. At this point, I'm of the opinion that when it comes to leaks about 40k or Age of Sigmar or any of the stuff that Games Workshop does, I'm at the point where I reckon it's about a solid 50-50. Like, genuinely a solid 50-50 as to people genuinely getting a sneaky picture out of a white dwarf they shouldn't have seen, or something in a store that shouldn't have been there, and Games Workshop just taking the photo themselves and either sending it to someone or just throwing it on a forum somewhere. They are so fast to respond to this stuff that some of it has to be planned. Like, the speed at which the reaction happens, it is literally leaked image comes up. 24 hours later, Warhammer Community has a complete, fully written article with high-res images of everything that you've seen and more. Now, either they're incredibly fast workers and they have everything on hand to produce this stuff immediately, or there's a bit of pre-planning going on, or these things are made well in advance and they just wait for someone to leak. It could be any of the above, but I'm pretty sure that a good number of these things are coming from Games Workshop themselves. I'm not bothered though, because they are attempting to hype up their product and it works. And whenever I talk about a leak and whenever I look at a leak, I'm always doing it on the understanding that, hey, yeah, this could well have been done by Games Workshop themselves. I don't really care. I'm getting to see the stuff early. I'm getting to see the thing that I've been excited about. It's just the way things happen now, I think, with quite a few industries. But in terms of Leman Russ, not really had any of that. There's not really been anything to suggest that he will actually be the next Primarch to come back. The timetable thingy that we looked at months and months and months ago, there's been talk of Emperor's Children being the next army to get a significant and serious update. And if they did, it would make sense, because that would bring them in line with Death Guard, that would bring them in line with Thousand Suns. Following that, we would most likely see the same happen with Angron and the World Eaters, which again would make sense. That would be the four Chaos Gods represented with their chosen sort of specific forces, which, to be honest, makes complete sense. And I would really like Emperor's Children to come back because it's Emperor's Children and their quality. The other thing is the Primaris thing, and I think this is where a lot of people are maybe getting themselves not worked up, but they're expecting more than they're going to get because they've already got what they're going to get, which is a terrible sentence, but I'll try and explain it a bit better. So when it came to Blood Angels, when it came to Dark Angels, there was excitement about new units, about, you know, changes to the army, and then from a lot of people I know, I saw it, people talked to me about it, they were disappointed that their new thing was Primaris. That it was like, oh, well, I thought we'd get some cool new shit, but actually what we got was Blood Angels Primaris or Dark Angel Primaris, and that's just not really very interesting to me. The thing is, with the release of Primaris, that is the new unit that every Space Marine force was going to get. That was your new thing. Your new entries in that Codex were Primaris. They were always going to be Primaris. When the Primaris were introduced, yes, there were moves made to make it look as though some of the chapters wouldn't accept them, that the Dark Angels didn't trust them, that the Space Wolves didn't like them, all of this shit. But Games Workshop are not about to release a replacement, which is what they are, to standard Space Marines, and then say, oh, but a bunch of Space Marine chapters refuse to accept them, and as such they won't be in the Dark Angels Codex. As such they won't be in the Space Wolves Codex. Of course they will be. Even if the Space Wolves chapter themselves refuse to accept them, there are now successor chapters to the Space Wolves comprised of Primaris Marines. So whenever it comes to a Space Marine specific release, the new units are not going to be something fancy and flashy and brand new and, oh, I've never seen this before. They're just going to be Primaris again. You will most likely see, you know, Space Wolf upgrade kits for Primaris. You will most likely see Space Wolf upgrade kits for Aggressors and Inceptors and all of that shit. That is your new unit. And for the foreseeable future, most likely until the standard Space Marine range goes away altogether, which, you know, hopefully won't be for a few years yet, whenever we come to a new Codex for, you know, be it Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Space Marines as a whole, Space Wolves, Death Watch, what you are going to see every time is not the creation of, I think, like Codex specific units. You will see adaptations of the Primaris range that we already have. I don't think we're going to see things like Primaris Wolfen. I don't think that would really make that much sense given what Primaris is supposed to be. So that is going to be out the window. I don't think you're going to see things like Intercessor Close Combat Squads, because Intercessors are designed to be one specific thing. They are made to be one thing only. That is the whole point. That is the way that the Primaris range has been developed. And honestly, a big part of that, to take it kind of away from the lore aspect of things, at this point I'm fairly convinced that the whole reason behind all of that, and I think it does make sense, this line of thinking, is when you're building a Space Marine army, Space Marines are, you know, they're the most popular force by far. They also, as the kind of most popular force, are the ones that new players are most likely to pick up, which, you know, that makes sense. They are the poster boys of 40k, of course they're going to go for Space Marines. Space Marines are also actually very diverse in what they can do. They have a lot of kits, they have a lot of units, they have a lot of different specialities, they have a lot of different chapters that have their own specialities into which all of the different units fit. When you look at it, yes, there are more armies, more complicated than Space Marines. Space Marines are not massively over the top. They can be simple if you want them to be. But I think for the new player, the brand new player, when you're sitting down and you're going, okay, I've got a tactical squad. Oh, I can have a missile launcher, or I can have a heavy bolter. Oh, I can also have a plasma gun, or I can have a melter gun. Oh, the sergeant can have... You can have a power sword, or you can have a power fist, or you can have a chain sword. There's actually quite a lot of options. For someone who's brand new to the hobby, who may not want to sit down and go through and min-max everything, there's actually a fair bit that you need to think about. Primaris is just, here's an intercessor squad, here are the bolters they come with. There you go, done, sorted. Here are the Hellblasters, here are the guns they come with. I mean, even for things like Aggressors and Inceptors, it is, here they are, and here are the two variations of gun you can put on them. That one is good at shooting people, that one is good at shooting tanks. Off you go. that's the lot. That's all done intentionally to make things simpler and make things easier. That is not going to change. That is not going to be something that is massively altered for things like Space Wolves, Blood Angels, or Dark Angels. You're not going to see Intercessor squads with mixed weapons. You're not going to see, you know, the ability to suddenly stick wolf claws on aggressors. You're not going to suddenly see, like, whatever it's called, the Hellfrost cannon. You're not going to suddenly see like a smaller version of those slapped on Inceptors. The Primaris stuff, I'm convinced, will remain exactly what it is, and the difference will be in things like vehicles. It'll be in things like maybe dreadnoughts, for instance. Those actual Codex specific things, you will see the variation, but the actual Primaris stuff itself, I don't think you're going to see much in the way of difference from one Codex to another. And for the Space Wolves release especially, the hopes of all these various amazing things that you might be able to do now, I don't think it's worth getting your hopes up for that. I think you will see all the units you had in the Codex before. You will see the addition of Primaris. The Primaris will not be adaptable. They will not be changeable. They will not have new weapons options beyond maybe the inclusion of a specific weapon for a sergeant, and that's about it. I don't think it's going to be a big release. I think it's going to be a small standard release, and I really don't want people to be building themselves up and be like, we've waited this long because it's going to be great, it's going to be massive. Everything's pointing this to be just a standard Codex release without a brand new range, without massive changes. So if it's true, if the Space Wolf Codex does come out on the 25th of August, don't go into it expecting the world, because I don't think that's what you're going to get. Question is, what do you reckon? Do you think I'm wrong, or do you think I'm pretty much on the money? Do you think we're going to see a bunch of new kits? Do you think we are going to see Leman Russ, or do you think we would have heard something about that at this point? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Feel free to click videos, Patreon, subscribe, all of that shit. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to, and I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.